Hey guys, Mike here. So, my first video of 2021. I know it's a little bit late to say, but Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you all had a good one. First of all, before I get started, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who subscribed recently, the people who are still currently subscribed to me, and all the reception I've received for my top 10 worst movies of 2020 and my top 10 best movies of 2020. I enjoyed making those videos and the reception I received from them has been very good. So again, thank you to everyone. So with that out of the way, let's get started. So today I'm here to talk to you about 2014's The Judge, starring Robert Downey Jr. as Hank Palmer. In The Judge, big city lawyer Hank Palmer returns to his hometown where his father, the local judge, is suspected of murder. Hank must put together all the pieces of the incident and along the way reconnect with his estranged family. And so we have The Judge. So guys, today's review was requested by one of my friends, Daniel McGuinness, who has for a while now been suggesting that I should watch this film. And I've been putting it off for quite a while just because, well, no reason really, I just been putting it off. But now I've watched the movie so I can talk to you about it. So, what did I think of The Judge? Well, really, I went into this one basically knowing nothing about it. All I knew about it going into it was that Robert Downey Jr. was in it and Robert Duvall was in it. Beyond that, nothing. But going off the poster, I did think that it was going to be Robert Downey Jr. as a lawyer and Robert Duvall as a judge. But I didn't think that they were actually going to be related. I thought it was just going to be them, like playing off each other and, stuff like that. But what I got instead was much better than I thought it was going to be. So let's just get into it. Robert Downey Jr., this guy was phenomenal in this movie, and it's roles like this that just go to show that he is more than Iron Man. Because the most recent movie I saw with Robert Downey Jr. was Dolittle. And that movie was just so bizarre and just such an odd choice for Robert Downey Jr., who's pretty much been one of Hollywood's best paid actors for like 10 years straight now. And obviously a lot of that was due to playing Iron Man for so long. But like I say, it was just roles like this which just showed that he was just more than that. And I gotta say, this is probably one of the best performances that I've seen Robert Downey Jr. give. At the start of the film, I did worry that he was just leaning a bit too much into playing a Tony Stark-esque character, because within the first 10 minutes of the movie, it very much came across like that. But as the story went on, as you start to see where this character's come from, his relationship with his family, and how he sees the world and how he practices law, it just really sets himself apart from Tony Stark. And actually, it came to a point where I just didn't really see Robert Downey Jr. anymore. All I saw was Hank Palmer. The chemistry that he had with everyone in this movie was just phenomenal. I don't think a single person in this movie put a foot wrong. Having said that, I'm not going to go out there and say that everyone was absolutely phenomenal, Oscar-worthy actors. It's just that it came across that everyone obviously cared about this project and gave it their all. And obviously, Robert Duvall was very good in this as well. Though, personally, I wouldn't go so far as to say that he was the person from this movie who deserved the Oscar nomination. Not to say that he wasn't good, far from it. Robert Duvall gives an excellent performance in this film. Though, me personally, I do believe that it should have gone to Robert Downey Jr. I just personally think that he gave the stronger performance and he just really resonated with me more. Though that may just be a bit of bias because, I just really like Robert Downey Jr. Another thing I really appreciate about this film is the fact that they don't just suddenly start becoming friends right away. You see right from the get-go that Robert Duvall and Robert Downey Jr.'s characters have a strained relationship. At first, when they're talking to each other, it's a bit awkward. They're trying to be friendly for everyone, but you can just tell there's just this underlying tension between the two of them. But then as they start to talk more, you see that they actually start to become a bit more friendly to one another. But what makes this film really interesting is that it's not just one escalator going all the way up, their friendship getting better and better as it goes along. It's more like a roller coaster. There's dips and turns and dives all around the place. They seem like they're the best of friends at one point, then all of a sudden they're ripping each other to shreds. One minute they're connecting emotionally, the next they're just like going deep in on each other and just trying to hurt each other. But it's the fact this movie makes you believe in their relationship, makes you want to actually see them become better family members to one another. And obviously all of that couldn't have been done without the excellent performances of Robert Duvall and Robert Downey Jr. If I did have a nitpick for the characters though, is that I wish they spent more time building up different relationships in the movie. The main one being, for me, Dax Shepard and Robert Downey Jr.'s relationship in the film. Because in the film, Dax Shepard is the lawyer that Robert Duvall initially picks to represent him in court. But as it's blatantly shown, the guy doesn't really know what he's doing. It's not from any lack of caring about his job. It's just the fact that he hasn't received probably the best education and hasn't put his heart and soul into being a lawyer. But nevertheless, you can just tell that he actually cares about being a good lawyer. And because of this, Robert Downey Jr.'s character swiftly takes over the case. And then for pretty much all of the movie, Dax is just kind of sidelined and basically becomes inconsequential to the story. Honestly, if you just remove his character after the part where he gives up being the lead lawyer, it wouldn't have really made much of a difference. And honestly, I think that's a bit of a shame because I really felt that they could have delved more into Robert Downey Jr.'s character being a bit more of a mentor and actually showing this guy how to be a better lawyer. And also for Robert Downey Jr.'s character, making him revisit his morals. Maybe if they removed one of the brothers from the story, it might have worked. But to be fair, this is just my own personal preference. I did like all of the relationships in the movie. It's just I personally wish that they'd spent different times with different characters. And I will say there were certain points in this movie where I really thought that, like, wait, what are you doing? Like, that's breaking the law. You can't do that when you're, you know, supposed to be representing someone. But then the movie explains it away in a very understandable way. Like, there's one part in the film where he breaks into a place and you think, like, what are you doing? Why are you breaking into there? But then it's explained that the person he's breaking into the place with owns the place. So it's like, oh, okay, it's technically not breaking and entering then, I guess. And there were just so many different points like that where I just thought, oh, wait, hold on. And then it's just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Overall, guys, The Judge was a very enjoyable movie. I wouldn't say that my expectations were vastly exceeded for this movie because I did expect a lot of good things from it. It stars two excellent actors giving absolutely brilliant performances. Now, I haven't really seen Robert Duvall in that many things, but the things I have seen him in, he always does tend to give really good performances, and this movie is no exception. Whereas with Robert Downey Jr., I do have a vaster movie catalogue to pick from, and it's very easy for me to say that this is probably one of the best performances he's ever given, and one I personally think he should have got an Oscar nomination for. The rest of the supporting cast were good, the story was really engaging, the courtroom scenes were excellently presented, and I did worry about the runtime initially, seeing that it was nearly 2.5 hours long, but it's so brilliantly paced and the time just absolutely flies by. I wasn't bored for a second with this movie and I just found the whole thing very engaging. And as well, this film goes to some places which I really didn't expect it to go, and it really manages to tug at your heartstrings in just such an effective way. But do I think you guys should watch this one? Absolutely. If you haven't already seen The Judge, then I would highly recommend you check it out. If you love Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall, I think you're going to like this one. I wouldn't go so far as say this movie will ultimately stand the test of time and that it's a timeless masterpiece or anything like that. This was just an engaging story about two characters who have to come together to fix their relationship. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, then I would say give this one a watch. Okay guys, that's my review of The Judge. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think I should watch next? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!